agenda.
No, sorry.
Hope that's okay. I just turned the recording on in case some wonderful things get said. If we decide not to post it, just let me know if you say something that you'd rather not be posted.
I just wanted to follow that part up. I guess the piece that I think that maybe has nothing to do with what you're talking about, but kind of reminds me of it, is that when I'm with somebody, and like I'm thinking about being with Spencer today, when I don't have my agenda and I just am present and he's present, there's this space between us where we're open to whatever kind of dialogue that happens. I guess that's a little bit, I'm getting that good feeling then sometimes that just, okay, here we are together and this space is really special. This is our time that we have together. Let's just see where we're at as two people in the world, kind of like that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. How old is Spencer? Spencer is Jen's son.
21. And
21.
I want to say maybe a couple months ago, I would be like rattling off things that he had to do. Or rattling off things we had to do to get him prepared for school. But then I was like, let's just throw that out the door and find a space where we could just be together and communicate and make that special and, important. Kind of like the 9/11 thing, but maybe way different than what you were thinking.
No, that's right in line. Yeah. Yeah. And it's in line with being more conscious, right?
Yeah. And it's been better. Yeah.
Yeah. More aware of the beauty and what's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rather than, moms especially are famous for going up in their head and thinking that they're the mama bear and they have to take care of everything and making sure everything's in order. And Linda's shaking her head. She knows, right? Yeah. So that's really cool. And so what did that happen when you had those little snippets, those little moments where?
Yeah, I was just thinking that, I don't know, I just sometimes just think that I know what he's going to say or I know what he's going to react to. And so I react before he reacts. And I was like, that's kind of stupid. That's not, I won't use stupid, but that's really not it's kind of a disservice to the other person, right? In some ways. So let me just see kind of, where they're at and what kind of moment we could have here. Yeah.
That's a really cool insight.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did he notice anything different?
Oh, no, he was more talkative, so maybe.
Maybe not afraid that you're going to judge him?
Right. Or say, this is what we have to do. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So you had a good time?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that was even different from just the last time you went apartment shopping, right?
Yes. Yes.
Well, isn't that interesting? That insights create change.
Yeah.
Insights open us up to see something we hadn't seen before, and it creates a different outcome. That's really cool.
And yeah. I think I think it's like almost, which is not really true, I can't use this word, but I'm getting toward being a little bit more lighthearted.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Like, I'm not lighthearted by nature. You know what I mean? I'm intense by nature, but I'm almost can be a little bit, okay, let's see where this goes. I don't know.
Oh, interesting. Saba, is that a hand raised? What?
Yeah, hand raised. Yeah. So I don't know whether you all have noticed or not, but it seems to be common when somebody else, like our neighbors or relatives or spouse or family members, if they are facing some mental or psychological issues, we seems to be experts, especially myself, I can say, I can solve anybody else's problems in the world. I feel like that. And I'll be so calm and I'll say that, no, this thing doesn't matter. These are all small things, they pass. But when it comes to me, I forget all those things and I
Right.
become like very anxious and like, I'm not myself. So is it because
Yeah.
we are calm and cool and it doesn't affect us? That's why we have like good ideas for others. When it's like us facing the dance,
So true.
then we forget and like we like struggle. So how do we like switch from just like assuming that it's not me who is having problem? What if it is my neighbor or my spouse or my kids having problem? I will coolly give very good suggestions. Why can't I like do the same thing for me? What is that thing? Is there anything, any technique or something that I can switch it like that for myself?
What do you guys think? Let me hear from,
That's kind of like with me, I was always the one to shoot my mouth or just to react to the situation and say things when I shouldn't have. And then you're like, oh man, sorry, I didn't mean that. So now with going through everything and listening, I kind of just process it all. Like I'll figure out, this is like if my kids are arguing or something or whatever, I'll look at the situation and just try to run the whole scenario or whatever through my head for myself, because it's easy for me to do the same thing. Like, oh hey, oh Julia, this is your problem. How about blah 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 blah, and I can solve it for her or Linda or whoever. But then with me, it was the same thing. But now, like listening to this and talking with Lori and everything, I think if I just take a step back for a second, process, think about everything, I don't know, it just comes to resolving things a little bit easier, or not, and not so heated and it potentially get, just argument things.
yeah. Cool.
Yep, taking a step back, taking a breath, calm down, or like force yourself to slow down. I think that helps, but I have to practice that a lot.
And then also like, I just like, then it just, you look at like the situation and then, you could have exploded over like, I don't know, a little thing, but then you look at the whole thing, you're like, oh gee, this isn't a big deal. Like, all right, we'll just do this, boom, 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 and be done. Instead of having this big like blow up over something that was, kind of just nothing to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of you said something about slowing things down in your head, right?
Yeah.
Somebody, the first training I ever had in the 3 principles, one of the counselors who had also been listening to Sid, to his talks, she used this great, to this day, and this happened in 1985, to this day, I think of this, she would do this with her hand in front of her face, my face, who and she'd say, you can't see the individual fingers, can you?
Mhm.
But if you slow your hand down, you can see each finger. And that just really stuck with me, that we have so much more clarity when we just slow things down. And you can feel when you're getting sped up. And that's, we're feeling insecure. We're feeling like we have to come up with a response right away. We have to, show who's on top of the game. And that couldn't be further from the truth.
Well, it comes with the whole ego thing too, like you've got to be right, or you have to have the final say, like that.
Yeah.
That was my thing, is somebody, my wife or whatever Lindsay is now, she'd make a comment and I'd be like, all right. So then one back is just, at some point she's got to learn to just shut up and just, just be done.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that, Brett, about ego and pride.
Yeah, it's like, well, you don't want to be wrong. You've got to have the final say or whatever, but just who cares? Just move on. Like, just not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Agree with that. When you are in the heat of the moment, nick of the
Yeah.
moment, you feel that you are right and you want to prove it no matter what, even though you're wrong. You don't want to admit, you don't want to think. Basically, I don't want to think myself in some situation that I can never possibly be wrong. I should be right. That attitude or that anger, that whole thing, like blows out of proportion, and I forget about myself and I become that anger.
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? In the heat of the moment, I love that, Saba. In the heat of the moment, we get this feeling like we know we're in control. We know what's going on. We know everything. You know what? We can never know everything because there's always so many variables. We only have the variables that we have. We only have the things that we already know in our brain, but you want to find out what the other person thinks they know.
Yeah. And I guess going back to that whole work thing that you guys were talking about, for me, I'm like an introvert, but I have to do a job that's extroverted, right? So for a long time, I would keep going back and forth and be like, oh, how am I the only introverted speech pathologist working in a school? Because they're so extroverted. And I thought to myself, maybe I just need to lean into my discomfort here, and I won't be so reactive about it. I'm just going to lean into my discomfort and just feel it and not, overreact. It just, and it worked out. I lasted throughout the year, which is amazing. Sometimes you get really uncomfortable, and I feel like from that discomfort, or I do anyway, I get a big response from the discomfort, but you don't have to have a big response in your discomfort. You could just kind of accept it and let it be. I feel like that's another thing I learned.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, you know what you remind me of is when Sid would say, if people could just learn to be okay with their feelings.
Yeah. And I guess,
Right?
yeah, and I didn't love being I don't love being introverted and working with such extroverted people, because I guess the majority of teachers are extroverted. But I just I guess I accepted it, I just kind of accept the discomfort and do it anyways and enjoy the moments.
Do you ever feel too that sometimes you're the extrovert and somebody you thought was pretty extroverted, and then all of a sudden they seem introverted, like people go back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like we label ourselves.
Oh, maybe that's true too. Right. And we
Right?
pigeonhole ourselves. Right.
It really depends. To me, it depends on the moment.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
Saba, what's so terrible about speaking the truth? Is your name Saba? I don't know how to say your name correctly.
Saba.
Suba. Why can't you speak the truth at your work? Is it just, or your truth? Is it the response? That's what I'm trying to understand.
It's like, basically it's mainly, let me turn on, sorry, my video is acting up. Yeah, it's mainly some things like, it's not just my ego, it's an ego of the hierarchical management structure. If it's like a set in stone, or like virtually set in stone, saying that the boss is always right.
Oh.
When the boss is wrong, I still keep quiet. When boss is wrong about me, that's when I try to prove the boss is wrong.
Yeah.
And that's when the shit hits the fan and like it falls on me finally. That's what. So I need to deal that diplomatically, assuming that.
Yeah.
I'm always on the receiving end.
Because you're
Why
outspoken.
can't I play along? I tell myself like all the time when I am calm, but when that moment happens, I forget. I think there is a problem in my biology or something, my chemical structure in my brain that's like suddenly becomes something else or doesn't work as I want it to be. That's all.
What if the chemistry and biology and everything was simply thought?
Of course, it's thought. Only thing is that thought, it seems as if the thought is controlling me, not me, or something like that. I'm not able to become the thought, or the thought is not able to become me. I feel like there is a duality there. That's the problem. I forget everything.
Because you feel like you have to say your feeling,
Yeah,
right?
actually,
You have to
actually
say.
that's what everybody says, and that's what is the right. But because based on other political situations, power structures and all, I can't be like speaking the truth or speaking my feelings. That's where there's a conflict, because everywhere right now, everyone is saying that you should speak out your feeling. You should like understand your feeling. You should respect your feeling. But some moments I'm having that like negative impact or like severe negative impacts because of that. And I can't like change in those moments to be somebody else. That's my problem.
I loved
Sharing
what
the-
you, oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
no, I just was going to say, I loved though what you were saying before, Saba, sorry, about though, like when you sounded like sometimes you remembered about like, you know, when you said about slowing down and I think that's like, I'm appreciating that. Seems like what's been shared is those moments when we kind of all of a sudden like you slow down or you kind of do remember, although I know I also don't remember lots of times. And so I really appreciate what you're saying. But I think what I am finding is that I remember more and more the more that I have these kind of conversations. So it's like just so nice to be here talking with all of you, because I know what happens to me afterwards is that I'll be out and I'll be in a tense situation and you know all of a sudden I'll remember like, oh, I remember that conversation, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I just want to slow down. Or I'll think, Lori, about you doing the hand thing, and then I'll be like, oh, right, you know, when we slow down we can see more. And yeah, just I think that too, when you started the conversation with the, you know, looking for a feeling, it's almost like that's what I kind of find with all of this, is that it's like when I'm in that tense feeling and then it's like, and then I remember, it's almost like I just wait until for something else to kind of come along or something, you know, a better feeling or just, and a better feeling isn't exactly, but something deeper that like, I almost guess I feel now like there's something else to see. And even when it's uncomfortable, it's just kind of nice to know like, oh, I think there's something else to see. But
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of, Linda? It's like using our feelings as a guide, as a guidance system. I just love that. Like we have an internal GPS.
Yeah.
And it's in the form of our feelings. So like Saba, when, or any of us gets really, you know, like, oh my God, I have to speak my mind. I have to tell these people how I see it because it's so clear as day to me. But that feeling of even excitement could really be agitation, could be angst. It's always, you know, take time to feel more level or more grounded. And then if it still seems like, yeah, this would be good information, I don't, you know, And you use a great word, Sabah, then you can present it diplomatically.
Mm.
You use that word diplomatically. And right when we're like really, oh, I've gotta let them have my mind, give them my mind. That's really the feeling when we get overly excited. Yeah. So just letting that guide us back to, wait, let me see tomorrow. Let's see if it still looks this way to me tomorrow. And you wake up the next day and you feel a lot more grounded and relaxed, and you have a look at whatever's going on in the office or wherever, and you realize, yeah, this could make a good impact. But in that grounded, easy space, you'll see how to present it in a way that'll be very diplomatic. And who knows, maybe they'll hear what you're trying to get across. Does that make sense? Kind of, sort
Yeah,
of.
Lori, I feel like that's a really good example of like when I forgot what his name was. The guy Sid. Okay. When Sid says like look for a good feeling and then he says but you have to like quiet your mind in order to receive it, like to hear it fully. I feel like that's kind of like goes hand in hand like what you're saying about when you're like really calm and either like I don't know, meditating or lying down or just like journaling, anything like that. I feel like that's when good ideas come to you because it's like your mind isn't in like a defensive mode. It's just kind of allowing any thought to come. It's not thinking, oh, this is bad, this one's not good, this one won't work. It's kind of just like letting the thoughts come, and then whatever I think is the best one in that state is going to stick with you, and that's what you'll probably choose. But yeah, I've been having a hard time with that a lot lately too. Like just being around other people, like in life, I feel like I kind of absorb energies from other people. So in like negative or like tense situations with people or like any type of drama, I just like, I feel anxious and I kind of feel like I'm in their shoes and I have to spend more time alone or like inside, more introverted and stuff like that. And I was just like wondering, like, how do you deal with those type of situations, or like, especially if they're people that you love or that you're around and you can't avoid, or like people that you work with, like, how do you put yourself in those situations and like create a sense of calm, like in your environment, even if it's not like, a safe feeling space? Like, how do you create that sense of calm in your mind? That's what I've been having a hard time with lately.
That's a great question. You know what came to me as you were speaking, Julia? This is kind of cool. Let me see if I can put words to it. But I know what you mean, right? When you're around, like, say, a Debbie Downer or somebody
Yeah.
who's really complaining a lot, and it feels like you're absorbing it. I know that feeling. And then I realize I can't absorb somebody else's feelings. I'm only feeling my own thinking,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
boy, that's something, right? To realize, wait a minute, I'm just feeling my own thinking. It's me judging them.
Yeah. Yeah, actually not the putting it that way, that spins it totally different. Cause then it is more of a place of judgment than feeling like I have no say in the situation.
And then it's hard sometimes to see somebody's health, or at least that's been my experience at times. But the more I saw that everybody has health, everybody really has a core, an innate core of health, then it got easy. It got easy to see that. No matter how much craziness and drama they were caught up in, it was just their thinking. Underneath all that thinking is a core of health. And man, that made it a lot easier to be around negative people. Then it became more interesting, fascinating, to witness people creating a bad time for themselves. Innocently. I mean, they don't know that they're creating it. Yeah, they're talking about, the phone company and how they're stealing them blind and they're, doing all these egregious things or these, whatever the complaint is. I'm thinking of a friend, someone who would go off about different corporations in her life and how they were ruining her life. And she, at one point, I'll tell you the story. We were at lunch and I said, let's just have a nice lunch. Let's not talk about, how everybody's in our pockets and taking advantage of us. And so let's just maybe have a quiet lunch if that's all we could talk about. And she got really upset at me. She said, can't you accept me the way I am? And you know what? She had a point. I was judging her that, and that was my own thinking about her complaints, her behavior. Who am I to judge her experience? If that's what she wants to talk about and that's what she wants to share, that's not my business. What is my business is knowing that it's just her thought and it's just my thought. And I could still love her.
I feel, I have to say something.
Please do.
Okay. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I don't. But I feel like when I'm working with people in their lives with lots of difficulties in really difficult situations, I feel like, that we get compassionate, right? We have compassion, but we also have a respect for like their resourcefulness, and to not have that respect for the resourcefulness is, I don't know, without integrity for them or something like that. I don't know what the words are, but I don't know. That's kind of how I feel when you're telling your story. Like you probably knew that this woman was very resourceful and you had all the faith in her in the world that she's going to pull through,
Right. Well,
Right?
that's seeing the innate health.
Yeah.
That's seeing the health. Yes.
And that's not a lack of compassion. That's a faith in her abilities, right?
As a human.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not just her and her personality.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was incredibly resourceful.
Yeah.
Interesting that, well, we all are. Comes with the territory of being human. And that's really seeing the health in the person in front of you. That's really compassion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Compassion isn't something we do. It's something we see.
Yeah.
By seeing the health in the other person.
Oh, I
Knowing.
love that, Lori. That's so good. Sorry. I love that. I haven't heard that before, that it's not something we do, it's something we see. And that just makes so much more sense to me than like when you try to be compassionate, like it's a doing, it's kind of like trying to change your thinking, right? It's what you described earlier. And so something you see, oh, that's wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And I can't take credit for it. It just came out. See, that's what happens, right? You coming with an understanding of the principles, you come out with stuff. It's like, oh yeah, that's really true. But it wasn't,
Planned.
my personality saying it. It was just, looking in the direction of the principles that,
Mm.
man, it's all spiritual energy that we bring into the world of form through the gift of thought.
Yeah.
It's so simple. I mean, but that sentence may sound complicated, but it's so simple. Yeah, how would you say it that it wouldn't be complicated? That wouldn't sound so complicated then. We're experiencing our thinking all the time. All the time. So is everybody else. And then so then it's easy to let ourselves off the hook and let them off the hook as far as seeing the psychological innocence of people. Yeah.
Mm.
It's always our thinking, and we're not always aware that it's our thinking. Sometimes we're caught up in whatever we're thinking. That's our reality. We're not thinking that. We don't even stop to think that we're thinking that. And we're just caught up. And then you wake up again and you realize, oh man, that was a 10-minute illusion I just had.
I was thinking too, when you just said that, Lori, about the whole conversation about, when we're getting stirred up, just that those, illusions of urgency like that. I think that's been something, just growing up, and it always seemed like, oh, you have to see everything. You have to take care of everything right now, or like 10 minutes ago, or, you have to fix this, or you have to do that. And just the slowing down also, like that that was made up as well. Like that was made up, that we have to know or have everything figured out, or that we have to, like just that you couldn't wait or you couldn't step back. Like that's growing up to me. It looked like, well, there's no space to wait. Like, you needed to know. And so I think just what you just were saying and just seeing this, it's so it's kind of just has that nice, like relaxing, like, oh, like really, what really is so urgent. Like, and it seems like now to me that if something really needed to be taken care of in the moment, it's like you just find yourself taking care of it, and it's in a different way than, oh, I have to do this, take care of it right now. So I don't know if that made sense, but
Yeah, that's great.
it just feels relaxing to know that sometimes that fast thinking and that we have to take action immediately is kind of is the calling card for, oh no, I really need to do the opposite.
Yeah. It's the wake up that we need to do the opposite of that, right? Yeah. Isn't that interesting that we're designed this way? Yeah. So we got a few more minutes. What should we say in these few minutes left? Got about 7 minutes, 8 minutes, something like that, right? It's been so great having everybody on. And you know what I love? How we springboard off of each other, right? There's not one thing that any of you said that I could not relate to. Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? How we think we're all so different. So any of you reading any of Sid's books or anything in particular that you're really loving, or any of the videos that you're watching? Some of you, I think, are also watching on YouTube. They're a little longer on YouTube. Yeah. Anybody reading Second Chance? Or have you read it?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you read it more than once, Linda?
I have read it more than once, and yeah, I really loved it. I thought it was excellent, and definitely it was fun to read it the second time. I was just looking through the Enlightened Gardener Revisited today earlier, but Second Chance was, yeah, it was so good. Like all the things I missed the first time when I read it again, that was really fun. Mhm.
Did you hear Dr. Pettit talk about when he said to Sid how much he loved the second edition of Second Chance? And Sid laughed.
Yes, I do think I remember hearing that, and it's so good because you really do. I feel that way with Missing Link too. Like that, somehow I'm like, oh, I'm like, I don't remember reading this. Definitely, yeah,
Right?
yeah. The more you see, you just all of a sudden things I didn't notice before. I'm just like, oh wow, that was really good. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun because you get to like read them over and over again, and it's like you get a whole new book that
Right.
you didn't think you read before.
I know. Yeah. I think that's an indication. I don't know. What do the rest of you think? But it seems to me like it's an indication that our we're growing, we're evolving, our consciousness is rising so that we see and hear what we passed over. I mean, the first time I read that book, it was just, oh, that's an interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get anything out of the first reading. I mean, that was a long time ago, but, and then a long time before I read it a second time. And I said, oh my God. No
Yeah.
wonder people say you have to read this more than once. Yeah.
It's so good. And
So
listening
interesting.
too, when you listen to the videos as well, like I love that some days, just you'll listen to something and then you listen to it again and you're like, oh, I didn't remember him saying that. And it just hits you in another way, or you just hear something. So yeah, I love listening to his stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. It's a good sleep aid too. I hear a lot of people listen to the recordings or the videos and it puts them to sleep at night. Yeah, Sid's got such a good, such a great voice and very calming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I hope I see you all next Monday night again. We're just going to keep meeting at 8:00. Is this a good time for you guys?
Yeah, this is good.
It started out with some people had babies and they're supposed to be in bed by 8, but I haven't seen those two women I've not seen who really set the time at 8:00. But I think that's probably good for all of us. It gives everybody time to have dinner and then just get ready to go to sleep after.
Yeah.
Assuming we're all on the East Coast. We're all on East Coast time, so that's great. How long are you going to be in the Cape, Jen?
I think just one more day.
Are you having a nice time?
I am having an okay time, yeah. Okay, it's beautiful. It's been beautiful.
Did it rain there? It was raining on and off back here.
It's like on and off. It seems to never be raining when I'm at the beach, so that's good.
Wow, you time it.
I've been timing it just naturally, yeah.
Good timing.
Nice.
All right, so have a great week and I'll see you all next Monday.
Yeah, thank you. It was so nice to meet all of you. Yeah,
you guys.
thanks, Lori. Yeah, bye. Have a good week.
Bye. Have a good
You
week.
too. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.